Hi, my name is Isidore Schoen, and I would like to demonstrate for you how we issue derived credentials to a Windows Virtual Smart Card. On Windows 10 and Windows 16, there is support for a device called the Trusted Platform Module. The Trusted Platform Module is a device that allows us to generate and store cryptographic keys and limit the use of those cryptographic keys according to policies. This is a chip. And this chip gives us multiple security mechanisms that allow us to protect the keys and protect those keys from malicious software so that we are able to use those keys in a way that we can trust how the keys are generated, how the keys are used, and ensure that those keys are only used for the purposes they are intended. One of the functions that we can use with this TPM is we can create a virtual smart card. Virtual smart cards emulate the functionality of physical smart cards. However, those virtual smart cards are actually containers within a trusted platform module. These virtual smart cards are similar to physical smart cards as far as Windows is concerned. They can be used for authentication, they can be used to do smart card login, they can be used for encryption, but they are much less expensive than a physical smart card, and they are just as easy to deploy. In fact, they're easy to deploy because you don't have to manage physical smart card and physical smart card stocks. They're also easier to replace because as you replace the machine, you can replace the virtual smart card. What I would like to do now is demonstrate for you the process of generating a virtual smart card and then using an existing credential to generate derived credentials, place them on that smart card, and then use that smart card to do an authentication. The platform that I'm using today is a small Asus T1000A. It's a very inexpensive platform. It's based on the Intel Atom, so it's not a very powerful platform by any means. So this is a very low-end device, so we're not looking at something that has a lot of computing power. It does have on it a piece of software called ESP. This is Entrust's security provider for Windows. That piece of software is designed to communicate with the CA, and it will give us the ability to request certificates in a secure manner and have certificates and keys exchanged between the CA and this device, and then insert it into the TPM or have the CA exchange cryptographic material between the CA and the TPM in such a way that we know that we're actually getting the correct material. So its purpose is to communicate with the CA. So the first step in this process is to create the virtual smart card, which is what I'm going to do now. First thing I have to do is enter the PIN. Our security policy requires that I enter an 8-digit PIN. If I fail to enter an 8-digit PIN, the process will fail and I will stop. In the meantime here, as I'm generating the smart card, this is a container within the TPM itself, so it will create the container within the TPM, it will format it, it'll lay it out according to the rules that I defined when I issued the command, and it will take a moment as it generates that. I'll make the display a little bit larger so you can see it a little bit better. And as this component is being created, once the component has been created, the next step in the process will be for me to connect to the CA components and request the certificates and request the authentication. And the next step in the process is for me to authenticate to the components in the CA and identify myself, and then request that the CA generate derived credentials based on my certificates. So I now have a TPM smart card. My smart card is identified as 0000. Tell from the number here. And now I'm ready to generate my derived credentials. So the next step in the process, I will authenticate to the infrastructure with my existing credential. This is Identity Guard. Entrust Identity Guard is a mechanism that allows me to identify myself and make a request for a derived credential. So I click the login button. This is my credential. Normally this would be on a physical smart card. For make it a little bit easier for this demonstration, I put a P12 on this machine, but there's no reason it couldn't be, and it should be, on a physical smart card. So I'll select the credential, click OK. I've been authenticated to the system, and it says I am authorized to request a derived credential. I would like to have a derived credential virtual smart card. I click the button, and it asks me for a friendly name. When I go back into the system and ask for other derived credentials, it will tell me that I have them and will identify them by this friendly name. This way I know that either these are credentials that I've issued before, and they may be for another purpose, or that they are for this purpose and I'm asking for new ones. Perhaps I've lost my machine, I've changed out the machines, or I'm upgrading. So I'm just going to give it a simple name. My username is John Lee, so I'll just call it JLee1, and I'll click OK. The next step in the process is to launch ESP. When I launch ESP, ESP will be provided with some parameters that will be used to connect to the CA, and ESP will complete the process of requesting a credential. So I will launch ESP. Do I mean to switch apps? Yes, I do. And this is the enrollment wizard that's in ESP. I click yes, click next. And now it's going to go out to the CA, and the next thing that happens is it needs a place to put the credentials. This is the Windows security provider. You can see that this has the indicator for the chip, and it's asking me for the PIN that I used when I created the container in the first place. This is that 8-digit PIN that I used to create the container in TPM. An authentication key pair will be created in the TPM, and the private key will be maintained in TPM. It cannot be exported. The public key will be pushed up to the CA so it can generate a certificate. All my certificates will be pushed down from the CA into CAPI, be imported, and the process is complete. The last step I have to do is we call registering. That tells Identity Guard that I've finished. I'm going to look for a certificate that has a little chip next to it. Select that, click OK. Oh, got it. And the process is complete. My Entrust Digital ID registered successfully. Now, my smart card is completely populated. At this point, I can use it. So just to demonstrate that it can be used, I will go ahead and authenticate back into Identity Guard using the credential that I just created. So I'll log in. This time I'm going to use the credential that I just created. Click OK. And the very next step in this process is that I'm prompted to enter my PIN because I'm using my smart card. And the only way I can access the private key is to authenticate to that smart card again. So once I do, if I've entered the PIN successfully, I'll be authenticated to Identity Guard, and I'm told there's no self-administration action that I can perform because this credential has no rights to perform any self-administration action. So the good news is that I've authenticated. The not so good news is this particular credential doesn't have any rights to do anything else. But that's fine because I've demonstrated that I've authenticated successfully. So that is the process of issuing derived credentials to a virtual smart card. If you have any questions, if there's anything else we can provide for you, please don't hesitate to give us a call. And you can contact me at iShown@Cygnacom.com or Bill McKenna, bmmckenna@Cygnacom.com or 703-270-3529. Thank you very much for your attention. We really appreciate it. Have a good day.